Hello and welcome developers. My name is Shay and this is another episode of Shay Develops. Hopefully you guys are doing great out there. And if you guys enjoy my video, hopefully you guys leave a like, comment, subscribe. I'm saying this now, I usually put this at the end of the video, but I don't put this now, seeing if maybe that makes some kind of a change if you guys are not getting to it at the later end of the videos, which is totally fine. I understand why you wouldn't watch the whole thing. All right, but in this video though, we're going to be talking about the try catch with resources. It's very similar to the try catch finally, and you can still use the try catch finally, except for we're adding a bit to the try part that allows us to input a resource that will close automatically when we're done with the try catch block. So if you watch the video where we were doing reading and writing to files, we had to close the connection to those files whenever we were done modifying them. And that's the same thing. That's exactly what that does with the try with resources. It closes that connection to whatever connection it is that you had whenever you're done with that try block. All right, so let's go ahead and do some input output stuff, or not, well, reading and writing to a file, because that's a good use of this try catch. So I've got an IO file, or a text file that I used in a previous video, and you can just create your own whatever text file. It doesn't really matter what you put into it, but you'll want to go to your project folder, your main project folder. Mine's try resources YT. And then I'm going to paste mine, but you guys can just create a new text file, input some stuff into it. Here I have this story right here that we've gotten from a show on TV. And now we can go ahead and create a path to that file, even though it has a path. We're going to get the path to that file, and we're going to use it to read some data. And it's going to automatically, like I said, at the end of the try catch, it's going to close it. But let's just write one without a try catch. So this will be without try resources. We would just do, we'd create a file object. We'll call it path. Make sure you are getting the java.io import there. Equals new file. And then we have to tell it what file we're looking for. So we're looking for the path. So the path name is iofile.txt because it is right here within our try resources. If it was somewhere else, we could definitely input like an entire path. So if you're on the Windows, you could do C:// because you're having to one makes it to where this doesn't work. So you have to do 2 to escape from the /. But we don't need any of that right now. We just need the iofile.txt as long as you put it right there. And then with that path, we could then do try. I'll do a buffered reader. Let's create a buffered reader outside of here, though. So that way we can have access to it later on. We'll just call it BR, and we're going to set it equal to null for the time being. So while we're in our try, we'll do BR equals new buffered reader, new file reader, and we'll pass it the path that we created, path. And we're getting that error here because we haven't handled an exception yet. So we can go ahead and handle that exception real quick. Catch IO exception. Oh. There was an error with the file. All right, so now we want to actually go ahead and output that path. Well, we could do string line while line equals br dot read line, while that does not equal to null, meaning that it's found a line, that the buffered reader has found a line and it's about to output that line. So it buffers them by each line. and we can just loop output the line. Oh, and that is a, like I said, our traditional try catch. And then if we wanted to, we want to make sure that we close this. So we want to do a finally. So this will happen regardless of whatever happens with the try. So if the try doesn't go through, this is still going to go through. So we could do br.close, and we run into another issue where we're like, it's another unhandled java.io exception, but we can't handle it within the finally unless we do unless we go down here to more actions and surround with a try catch. That allows me to try to close it. If it doesn't close, we're getting this BR. So if this fails, this part fails, and we go down here, there was an error with the file, and we come here, it will no longer try and close the file. So this is all the stuff that we have to go through in order to do a try with resources. So this should output our story once we hit run and this builds. I should be making this a little bigger. My apologies. And there we go. It outputs it just like we wanted to, right there. And it actually closed. But say I well, actually, I don't want to do that. Let's just say it was iofile1.txt. And I try to run this again. This time we said it should be, there was an error. Oh, yeah, there was an error with the file. And then we have a null pointer exception on line 28 whenever it tries to close that, and then instead prints the stack trace. So instead of printing the stack trace, we could just be like, there was an error closing the file. There we go. And then go from there and run that one more time. Oh, and we're still getting the same error on line 28. Yep, still definitely there. All right, so it's still printing out the stack trace for our null pointer exception. That's because we're trying to catch an IO exception, and this has got a null pointer exception. So we could do catch null pointer exception because there is no buffered reader part to actually to do. So null pointer exception. So there was a null pointer exception, and then we could run that one more time, and we shouldn't get that. Yep, there we go. And now we shouldn't get that that exception right there. But that is what you guys would have to go through if you wanted to do a try catch normally. But now with resources, we can actually change this up a little bit, and instead, in order to pass a resource to a try catch, we use the parentheses right here next to the try, and then now we're going to pass it a resource that must be closed once the program, or once our program is done with it. So with the instance of, like I said, the file reading and writing, once we're done with it, we want to close that out. So let's go ahead and close out that file by using a try catch. So now we could just do buffered reader, and we'll call it BR again. As a matter of fact, I can just highlight this. Actually, I'm going to, just so this is there on the screen, I am just going to copy that or comment that out, and we'll do try with resources. I'm going to scroll down a little bit. But remember, we definitely still need this file path. But in order to do this, we'll do try, and again the parentheses like I said, and we're going to create a buffered reader, br equals new buffered reader, new file reader, path. So far so good. It just doesn't like that we haven't caught this exception yet, which is fine. So far we've taken this line here and this line here, concatenated them into right here within our try with resources, and now we can do string line, and then while line equals br dot read line does not equal null, meaning it found something. Again, another unhandled exceptions. Don't worry about that. We'll handle these exceptions in just a moment. We can just output the line like we were doing earlier. Now let's go ahead and handle these exceptions. So like I said with a little bit earlier ago, with a try with resources, you can still use a catch and finally and still do all that stuff you want to do. So we do try, we do catch here, and we need to catch these resources. So the first resource we need to catch is a file not found exception, and the second is an IO exception. And we might just be able to do both at one time with an IO exception. That's right. There was an error reading the file, because an IO exception is a parent to the file not found exception. So that's all we have to do there, and that's it. We don't actually have to come in here with this try catch and try and close this and have all these other issues. That's it. It's going to close automatically. I could still put in a finally here. Just put the file was read, and that'll actually output whether or not the file was read or not. So it's kind of not necessarily great to put that in there, but just showing you guys just how much shorter we can make our code, well, with a try with resources. So let's go ahead and run that. Oh, it says there was an error reading the file, and then the file was read. So let's figure out, okay, why did we have an error reading the file? So we're trying with resources, right? And we pass it the path, which is right here with the auto file 1. That's right, we totally forgot to change that back. And then now we should run it, and it should work like it was intended to. There you go. It says now this is the story all about how, and then finish our whole story. And then we at the bottom though we get the file was read, and then now the file is actually closed. So if we wanted to modify this some other way, like write to it again, we would then want to open the file back up just by creating a buffered output or whatever it is. I talked about it in another video, but the part that you really want to get from this is a try with resources is you have a resource that needs to be closed at the end of it, so you can do this with this. So you could do this with like a scanner class. If you were getting data from a user, you could do that as well. And really, I said that's about it. All right, guys. So hopefully you enjoyed. Hopefully you guys learned something. I really appreciate you guys sticking around and watching this video till the end. You guys are amazing. If there's anything you want to know, please hit the like, comment, subscribe. Tell me what you guys are working on. Tell me what struggles you guys are having. What and how I can help you. I've got some new stuff coming out for web development also in the near future. So hit me up in a comment if you guys are wanting to get some information about that. I'll also be dropping a HTML and CSS course. I know this has nothing to do with HTML and CSS, but in case you guys were wondering, I'll be dropping an HTML and primarily HTML with some CSS course in the very near future, followed very closely by a in-depth CSS course. All right, you guys, hopefully y'all are staying safe in this time and learning a whole bunch and trying to better yourselves as much as possible. You guys are awesome, and I'll see you guys in a upcoming video.